Hello and welcome to the LoudMouth MMA Recap Show. I'm John Franklin. On this episode of the Recap Show, we discuss all the fights of UFC 248, a.k.a. UFC Adesanya and Romario. I'm just kidding. It's UFC Adesanya and Romero. I will do all this with co-host of the show, who is, among many things, a panelist on Between the Links, the host of the MMA Takeover, and a writer on both Sure Dog and Cage Side Press. He's Keith Shillan. Keith, what's up?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good. So listen. The UFC was in Sin City again, T-Mobile Arena. Israel Adesanya was the top of the bill and the last man to walk out. The narrative is that all his fights are big fights now, but this one felt a little different on fight night. I know we got super excited about it for the All Angles, which we'll get into a second. But this didn't feel as big as the Whitaker fight. So to get things started, did you feel that it wasn't as big as the Whitaker fight? And if so, do you attribute that to the wrong guy maybe being across from him, or just how big the Whitaker fight was?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was as big as the Whitaker fight. I think many factors you have to take. One is Adesanya was the interim champ. You had Whitaker as the actual champion. You have the rivalry between Australia and New Zealand being in their home country, so that's going to bring out even more media, from that area. And, I mean, Whitaker was on a big, huge winning streak, not coming off 2 losses like Romero was. And then another thing that obviously hurts is the fact that Romero speaks broken English. Now, I don't mean to sound, terrible, but that's not his native language. So, that never really helps to sell a fight when a guy needs an interpreter or plus Romero's kind of a weird dude.
Yeah. That's an understatement. But we'll get into all that here in a second.
Well, after Tony Ferguson's press conference, it's hard to call anybody weird.
No, but yeah, Romero's right there with him. They're
I don't know about that. Romero's weird, but I don't know if he's on Tony Ferguson level.
All right, Keith, this was in fact a big fight. Israel Adesanya's first defense of his 185-pound championship, depending on how you look at it. If you count the interim belt, it would be a second. We did the all angles, and honestly, I thought we broke the fight down pretty well. We talked about Adesanya's feints and Romero's explosive moments. However, the one thing that we or maybe no one else could see coming was just how committed Yoel Romero was going to be to inactivity and the way in which he could use that to his advantage. Now, in the end, it ended up not being enough as Adesanya won a unanimous decision with a couple of 48-47s and a 49-46. The question here for me, for you, is was Romero's strategy brilliant or just a waste of everybody's time?
I think it was a good strategy if he had a little bit more activity. He needed a slow pace fight, which Israel Adesanya played right in his hand. It is one thing we talked about was the Romero reloading thing. Well, he was reloading the arsenal all day, but eventually you got to shoot those guns, and he didn't. And Izzy was giving him the chance to shoot those. I mean, a lot of people scored the second round for Romero because he had a flurry for about 1.5 seconds. Most people gave him the first round. He landed 4 strikes in the first round, and most people gave him that round. So I think Israel, gave him the fight he wanted, and he still didn't win the fight. That said, I want to say I think this fight ruined the whole night. And we'll get into the fight. The night was on an all-time high heading into the main event. And to me, I said to a friend, I take my notes for this show and we do the grade. I was like, oh, this is going to be an A. If the main event is just an okay fight, it's an A night. And then they put up one of the all-time stinkers, Adesanya playing it. I think he played it safe, which is very frustrating when he was, the pre-fight talk was him saying, I want to be the first guy to knock out Romero in the UFC. I don't know if his strategy was throw leg kicks and he's going to keel over from leg kicks and that'll get a TKO.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun. It reminded me a lot in a different sense of, everyone always compares him to Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva had stinkers against Damian Maia. He had a stinker against Talos Leites. And that's because he didn't want to go to the ground with these guys. Adesanya's strategy was basically he didn't want to get punched by Yoel Romero.
Yeah, it's interesting. The thing that one of my takeaways from this podcast with you is that you're pretty consistent in your views, and I'm a lot more all over the place. And sometimes when you think that I'll think one way about a fight, I think the other. I was on the edge of my seat with this main event. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it was a good fight, but there was something about the strategy of it. Like sometimes, the joke that you and I have is I'm half a casual and half a hardcore. And sometimes the casual comes out in me and sometimes the hardcore comes out in me. And last night, the hardcore came out. Like I was on everything that, like there was such an, not urgency, but like a tension in the main event and like what was going to happen and how they were kind of playing the mind games and playing the physical chess of it all. I did appreciate it for what it was. But I mean, it wasn't a great fight for sure. I'm not trying to sell anybody on that. But my question is, we've talked before about the thing that makes John Jones great, the thing that makes GSP great, the thing that makes even Anderson Silva great is, especially John Jones, and again, here's the Chael reference, is that on an off night, they still walk away world champion. And Israel had an off night, and he still walked away world champion. And I do believe that, judging can be highly corrupt. But I don't believe that the judges are trying to give Israel Adesanya belts or George St. Pierre belts or whatever in that way. I just think that so for me, I did gain a little bit of respect for Israel because he had a bad night and still found a path to victory. After the fight, Dana White laid all of the blame for the bad fight at Romero's feet. Is that fair in the sense that, you touched on this a little bit, is it – Keith, I hate to keep beating this point, but I really think this was the right strategy against Adesanya. He just, like you said, didn't pull the trigger enough.
Yeah, no, I don't blame it completely on Romero. I don't blame it on Adesanya. They both were to blame for this. They both, it takes two to tangle, and Adesanya did not put the volume on Romero to try to get him out of there. He was playing the prevent defense or the, you're up by 14 in the fourth quarter and there's 3 minutes left and you're starting handing the ball and, snapping the ball when there's 1 second left on the clock. And I know our European listeners don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but they're North American ones, or at least Americans know what I'm talking about. I scored. So how did you score? Because there's a lot of people who scored it for Romero. I scored it 48-47 for Izzy. I gave him the second, third, and fourth round. I gave Romero the last round, and I gave him the first round.
I'm not going to say how I scored it because, okay, I will. I can make a case. I would say 2, 3, 4 were Izzy's and 1 and 5 were Romero. So I'm right there with you. But my point in saying that is this: when you have this level of inactivity and when you have like only spots where things are occurring, I mean, you can make a strong case for 1, 4, and 5 for Romero. You can make a strong case for like the first round was a 10-10. Or, there's a lot of different ways this could go. That's why I think that it's like, I think what gets lost in these kind of fights is that I do think that Romero should have pulled the trigger more. I do think Izzy had more openings. But I think sometimes, like we talked a lot in the pre-fight in all angles about Romero lulling Adesanya into things. Adesanya said that exact phrase in the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, that he was trying to lull me. And I thought Adesanya did a great job of not being lulled, but I admire, Romero's commitment to it. And sometimes the most effective strategy in a fight is going to amount to a boring fight. We thought that this fight was going to be great because of their styles. We did not count on, like I said, Romero's commitment to doing nothing.
Yeah.
I do think this sets up a very interesting fight with Paulo Costa because Paulo Costa, I do not think, would fight like this. So that makes it interesting.
Yeah. So let me say this. Whitaker and Costa both had beat Romero his last 2 fights before that. And the way they both were successful is they took the fight to Romero. They didn't let him do the reloading. And I've seen Adesanya put pace on guys. I always thought, man, first round, he'd fill him out. He'd do the feints. He set his traps. I was saying that. I was in a room full of, I always have people over. I have the same crew over for the fights. And I was saying to them, he's laying his traps. And then he never really capitalized on it. He just he's going to kick the leg, move. And it drive me crazy. Now, you said you were on the edge of seat. I was done. By the fourth round, when Romero I poked in the fourth round, I wanted the fight to end. I was like, I hope he can't continue. And then just go to the scorecards and just get this crap over with. I was so done. And I was saying, heading into the fourth round, I had Adesanya up 2-1, but it seemed like he had all the momentum. Romero was doing close to nothing. And I was telling the guys I was with that if I was Yoel Romero's corner, I would flip out. The broadcast team, Joe Rogan, DC, would have been talking about, they would have been like, Yoel Romero's cornerman is flipping out. I would be screaming at him, you're 42 years old. This is your last chance. You were second in the Olympics. You've always been second. This is your chance to win first. What the fuck are you doing? I apologize for swearing because it's not the show we really swear on, but that's what I get. I'd be, what the bleep are you doing? Are you going to let this slip away? Are you going to do nothing? Is this what you want your legacy to go? I would have threw the towel at him. I would have thrown water on him. I would have been like, and then when he go into the fifth round, I would have flipped out even more. I would have gone even crazier. It would have been no technique, just like, you're one of the greatest athletes who's ever done it. What are you doing? You need to pass out when that buzzer ends. You need to pass out. It needs to be everything you've ever had. If this is the last fight, you are fighting like you're fighting for your life. And he didn't do it, and it's aggravating. And I know there's some people who are arguing that he could win, and there is a way that you could find 3 rounds for him based on how low both guys' output was. But I think we both hate the you got to beat the champion, that crap. You got to win 3 rounds to 2. But could you imagine if he won the title that way? It wasn't like Mike. It wasn't like Mike. Michael Bisping always needed that title, and he wins by knocking out Luke Rockhold. Imagine Romero's title is landing 40 strikes.
Yeah, and I think so. What you said there was very. You see these camps where the fighter becomes the guy who's effectively running the camp. And again, I'm not going to try to turn this into the Chael Sonnen show part 2. But one thing I've always liked about what he says is that I just show up for practice. And whenever my coaches say we're doing that day is what we're doing that day. And, we scout the guy, we put together a plan, and that's what I'm doing that day. I feel like Yoel Romero is very much the last word. And that's fine. But even a guy like Israel Adesanya has Eugene Berriman to say, hey, this is kind of – he respects him so much. I don't even know that Yoel Romero's corner was capable of that conversation or if it would have gone anywhere. Yoel Romero seems like he is what we'll call athletically stubborn in the sense that he's going to do what he's going to do and he doesn't care. And listen, I think the more and more we've thought about this, I'm sure we brought it up in the past about Yoel Romero, but they said on the broadcast last night, and I guess I had one of those epiphany moments, but I think the lack of wrestling that he uses in fights might be a cardio issue. It might be that he's afraid to expend that type of energy. He doesn't have it like he used to.
I totally agree. I said this. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the Sherdog roundtable I did. I said this, and me and TJ DeSantis got into I wouldn't say heated, but we got a little, we had a little debate. Like in the middle of my breakdown, he kind of interrupted and kind of picked. And I said that I think 2 reasons why Romero doesn't use wrestling. One is he doesn't think he has the cardio because that drains him just as much as it drains his opponent. But 2, I don't think it's silver medals in the Olympic wrestling. Everyone's talking about silver medals in the Olympics. It's not that level anymore. If Yoel Romero went into the Olympic trials, he wouldn't qualify. He wouldn't win because you have to drill takedown. Right now, the U.S. Olympic wrestling team, the Russian Olympic wrestling, these guys are drilling takedown. You can't drill takedowns nonstop in MMA because you got to do striking. You got to do, you got to do everything. You got to go do kicks. You got to do you got to do everything. So, it's cool to throw out these guys' credentials in wrestling, but that's not where they are anymore. Same with Izzy. Like Izzy's an unbelievable striker, but he's not world champion level kickboxer anymore. You understand what I'm saying? You can't be. So that's what I said. And TJ disagreed with me, and I said, no, obviously Romero's going to have the advantage in wrestling, but not as big an advantage as you think.
But here's the thing that makes it really interesting is what does that advantage mean in terms of he shot one seemingly like really dedicated takedown where he got Izzy down, he got right back up
for 1 second,
and it's like, is that what he wants the whole night to be?
He didn't even cover him in NCAA wrestling. I don't even know if that would have been scored a takedown because he had no control time at all. Like,
they didn't count it even in
they didn't count it. I didn't check. Yeah, so he went.
He was 0 for 3.
Yeah, he went down to his butt, and Romero was on his ankles for a 1/10 of a second. In NCAA, that's not a takedown. That's for sure. That's not a takedown. That happens in wrestling. I mean, there's guys who are actually underneath on their butts. But one thing I want to say, I wasn't sure how I was able to do this, but I just realized how I do it. So I was talking about flipping out, being the corner man, and going crazy. Could you imagine if Yoel Romero was part of Fortis MMA. I was wondering how I was going to get this. Imagine Saif Sayud. You tell me Saif Sayud wouldn't have been flipping out, trying to get in the inner guy and being like, do you always want to be second? Like, so yeah, I was wondering how I'd get it in. I knew you'd get Chael Sonnen in.
Of course.
That's how I got Fortis MMA in.
I think sometimes there's something to be said about the continuity of coaches, but a local guy here, Santino DeFranco, who was in Henry Cejudo's corner, is the one who is credited with that turnaround. I think it was against Marlon Moraes. Like, he came in the corner and had some words to say, and Henry came out a new fighter. So it matters. It matters what your corner is able to say to you, and it matters whether they feel comfortable taking you to those places, and if they have the guts to open their mouth and say the things that you need to hear. Yeah,
we talked about it on all angles. When Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya was going into the 5th round, everybody had it 2-2, and Gastelum is coming off his best round. Round 4 was his best round. He had all the momentum. It's like, all right, whoever wins this round is going to be the champion. Israel Adesanya was absolutely spent. He was facing the cage with his back towards Gastelum. His arms were hung over the fence. He looked like he was dead. And Eugene Berriman came very close to him and started whispering his head. Nobody knows what he said. But I don't think it was a technique thing. I think it was a motivational type speech that nobody else needed to have other than him and Izzy. And then Izzy came out and had his best round, that won that game, almost a 10-8 round. It's what made him – that's the one that we first saw. The first time we said, well, that's a legendary performance. So, yeah, I think Romero's team is to blame for this. I think Romero's to blame for it. Yeah, not good. We got to move on to the co-main event because I'm sick of talking about the main event.
Last thing, in the post-fight, Adesanya said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he's not going to risk millions of dollars to please some drunk fans. We've heard comments like this before. Is this his heel turn that people have been waiting for, or is it just him being authentic and part of his appeal?
I think part of his appeal is he's authentic. I think that's him. Like, he, I don't think he could ever go full heel because, look at the things he did at the open workouts, pulling the fans in, having the fans throw kicks. And, like, he's a fun guy. The way he does interviews, he's very open and honest, and he's refreshing that way. That said, Israel, if you don't want to go in and swing to the fences and get in a war with Yoel Romero, then don't pick Yoel Romero. Pick Jared Cannonier. You should have picked somebody else.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like, you picked this guy. Nobody was calling for this fight. You were the only person on planet Earth that was calling for this fight.
Yeah, and like I said, I do admire Romero's strategy a little bit. I take it only so far. But yeah, you're right. If you're this is the guy that you're using as that mountain, then you got to get over him. All right, Keith, we did the all angles for Zhang Weilli and Joanna Jędrzejczyk. We said that it was going to be a 5-round war and one of the best fights of all time. I'm kidding.
Hey, before you say this, I want you guys to check the breakdown show. I said it was going to be back and forth, and I said I predict this is going to be the fight of the year. I said it on the breakdown, and listen, I'll put it in March. What is it, March 8th? There's not another fight this year that's going to top this fight for fight of the year. No way. Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry for interrupting your intro.
No, it's okay. Yeah, we dropped the ball on this one and didn't do it all angles. But in fairness to us, we knew we should have early and just couldn't make it work out logistically. So we knew this fight was going to be good, Keith. Let's start the discussion with a simple question. Because there's so much to talk about here. So this is what I want to know. Can you effectively score, or for that matter, recap a fight where both fighters just decide they're going to put the gas pedal on the floor and just never ease off? I mean, this seems like the hardest fight to score. Yeah. With back and forth throughout.
So I have so many things to say. I have so many things to say, and then I'm not sure, like, if I should even say. This fight was awesome, fantastic, incredible, amazing, brilliant, beautiful. Every single superlative I can think of describes this fight. While I was watching the fight, I was thinking about Jay Petrie of SureDog.com, who does our play-by-play. He was doing play-by-play that night. I was thinking about all the people from different websites who do a play and say, could you imagine doing the play-by-play for that fight?
Yeah.
But I think this is no-brainer the best women's fight ever. I'm going to go one step further, and I know I'm in the minority. I think this is the greatest MMA fight I've ever seen, and I'll tell you why. We've seen wars. We've seen back and forth. I've never seen a fight to be this close, this much of a war. And neither fighter lost technique. Neither fighter lost pace. Like, you can show Shogun and Henderson. They're dying. They're throwing haymakers. Shogun, Forrest Griffin. I think before this, my favorite fight ever was Eddie Alvarez and Michael Chandler. And they didn't have this kind of pace. Joanna Jędrzejczyk landed 189 significant strikes in a loss. Weili and Joanna landed the same amount of strikes in round 4 than Romero and Adesanya landed in the entire fight. Like, it was absolutely incredible. There were so many answers. Like, there was questions going into this fight that they were all answered. Like, what was the big question? The big question about Weili was, well, how's her cardio if we go into deep waters? And is it a fluke? Did Jessica Andrade just run into a punch? Like, she didn't look that great against Tisha Torres. She didn't look that great against Dana Taylor. Like, how real? Well, I don't think there's anybody who's saying she's not the real deal anymore. I don't think anybody's saying she don't have cardio. And then what was Joanna's? How could you want to deal with the power of Weili? She's got hurt in the feet before. Can she handle that? And has anybody questioned Joanna's chin now? I mean, her forehead was one of the worst injuries I've ever seen. Her forehead reminded me of? When you go on the carnival and they have these like wacky I don't know what they call them, like houses, and they got the mirrors. A fun house. Yeah, fun house. And you get the mirrors that distort you, and you get one that like makes you real skinny, another one makes you fat, and then if you put your head at the fat one, your forehead goes like that's what it looked like. She had a fun house forehead. It was. And the fact that she sat there and continued to get a punch in the 4th and 5th round and then didn't step back. The reason why we love that fight was so much is Izzy didn't want to take any chances. These girls were the complete opposite. They just got right. Like when her forehead looked like it might explode. I think it was the first time we see a brain matter explode. She didn't care. She just got in the pocket and threw down combinations. It was absolutely incredible to me. I know people in my mind, and I really, truly believe this. The reason why people are not saying this is the greatest fight ever, I truly believe that we tend to be biased towards men. Yeah, it's why we struggle comparing men and women with pound for pound rankings and blah blah blah. I've to sidetrack. I don't do pound rankings with men and women. You can't compare them.
There's a couple.
If you do pound for pound rankings, men and women, and you say. And this is people have all kind of criteria about people's pound for pound rankings is, well, I compare them how they do against their level of competition. Then how is Amanda Nunes not number one? How is she not number one pound for pound? Where she smokes everybody. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I really think that if people really watch this fight and watch the other fights, that they say it better. I don't. Maybe I'm living in the moment, but I've never seen a fight better than this. This fight was. I was at awe. I didn't care. I technically scored it 3-2 for Joanna, but every single round I go, I have no freaking clue who just won that round. It could go to all 5 rounds. All 5 rounds. I said I have no idea. All five rounds are going to be up for round of the year. At the end of the year, when we talk about round of the year, all 5. What round was the best? All 5 were like that. It was amazing. This fight was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's a couple things that work here. You brought it up. The women thing is the reason why, maybe this fight gets downgraded in people's minds. Neither fighter is American-born is a reason why it might get downgraded in people's minds, especially with Zhang Weili being Asian. It's hard for people. I mean, occasionally, the Zombie, he'll get some love for, like, Fights of the Year and stuff like that, but I think this is part of it. A lot of things to like here. Joanna's ability to, like you said, I'm going to go ahead and give credit to a line that wasn't mine, which I don't do all the time, which is Steffi Haynes. She tweeted out that I think she said her husband said it, but it's a great line, so I have to give it props. She said, I wonder if Joanna will be able to open her phone with facial recognition tomorrow. And I was like, that's true. She got –
Dude, that's a great – that picture, when she was talking at the end – and I said, if I closed my eyes and didn't hear Joanna's voice, I wouldn't know who that is.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't recognize her. That's all bad. Because besides her forehead, her cheeks were puffed off, but you didn't notice it because of how big her forehead was. And the thing that sucked about the forehead?
What?
the thing that blew up her forehead wasn't even a strike from Weili. I mean, it was all the cumulative strikes from Weili. But the first one did it was when she went in for a takedown and they clashed heads. Remember when they clashed heads? Yeah, which is this fight was just absolutely incredible.
I think if you had someone that's never watched MMA before and you showed Joanna after the fight, and then you showed them 5 pictures of women fighters, and they had to guess which one was her.
Yeah,
it'd be tough.
Yeah, like a lineup. Imagine a lineup. Imagine if that was just like a street fight, and then someone asked Weili like a month later to see Joanna with no swelling, like which one of these assaulted you? Like, good, like I don't know.
I don't know.
So two things I want to say. The first thing is Weili Zhang is an absolute megastar now. The UFC market needs to go. Besides the whole the China thing, obviously is the biggest thing. The amount there's like what is there like something like there's over 1 billion people who live in China. It's something insane. So that thing, it's opening doors to China's MMA. Is the impact she's going to have in MMA is going to be incredible. Then you have, which I think is going to be the no-brainer runaway fight of the year. She'll probably win. As long as she keeps winning, she'll probably win female fighter of the year. All this stuff. But the fact that she is dedicated to speaking English is one of the smartest things I've ever seen any fighter do. I interviewed her in October in Boston. It was during the Reyes. She was the guest person during the Reyes Chris Weidman fight. Remember back in October in Boston? Yeah. And there was a translator. She didn't speak a lick of English. And now you can they're doing interviews with media members, and there's the translators there to like help her a little bit, but she can pretty much follow along. Good. That's absolutely brilliant. The other thing, I really hope they don't rush either one of these fighters back, because the amount of damage they took, I hope they give both these ladies a long time off to recover.
Yeah, and let's talk about that for a second, because one of the things that I think is this sort of like other sports have what's called hidden statistics, right? That was the birth of analytics. The reason why Moneyball is possible is because they said, okay, what does this guy actually do versus how much he gets paid and all that stuff. So for me, here's where the hidden analytics get interesting, because when we talk about this fight, we talk about volume versus damage, right? Clearly, Zhang Weili did more damage, clearly, but Joanna had more volume. Not only did Joanna have more volume, she was the more accurate fighter, right? So round 1, 46-39, Joanna. Round 2, 51-30%, Joanna. Yeah. Round 3, Zhang Weili actually, it was 52-50, but they both had the same number of strikes.
Sure.
Round 4, 50-43. Round 5, 58-35. So my question to you is,
sure, yeah,
does that even matter?
No.
And 2, nope. Is it all a damage issue?
Nope. Most of the time, I don't even like looking at the total strikes or anything like that, because not all significant strikes are equal. Just plain and simple. If you punch me with a grazing shot and I absolutely blast you with a straight right hand, the guy sitting in the cage side both give us one significant strike. It's not the same. And but on the flip side, we also can't just strictly go by damage, because there's a grazing shot that you hit. I mean, remember Randy Couture, UFC 46? Randy Couture had his eyelid sliced open. It was what a terrible injury. Had to stop the fight. And Vitor Belfort, the very edge of his glove. It wasn't even a punch that landed. It was like it was a freak injury. It's like a Final Destination type thing, where one little strand on his glove caught Randy Couture's eye and sliced his whole eye open, and it was terrible. So while obviously damage matters, we got to remember that sometimes not the best punch. Like a clean elbow sometimes doesn't do as much damage as just an elbow that catches just the very tip of the elbow. So I don't know. It's a balance, I think.
So
it was it. Let me ask you this question. We all say that Weili had the more damage, obviously, which is going to be funny. Think about Weili's flight home, and the stewardess looking at her and be like, two black eyes, puffed up face. Imagine her going, yeah, wait till you see the other girl. They say exactly, yeah. Oh, wait till you see the other guy. Like, it actually stands true. Anyways,
you almost have to wear, if you look like that, you almost have to wear a UFC shirt on the plane. Yeah. Just so you don't think I'm.
Yeah. She looked like the end of Rocky 1. Yeah. And then she won. It would look better. It's absolutely insane. I don't know where I was going with the. Back to you. back to JJ and versus Weilli. Well, Weilli had definitely had the more damage. Was there a single round you go, Joanna didn't win that, or couldn't have won that round? Like they both were like every single round. You're like, I don't know, that was a toss up. Like that round was super close.
Yeah,
that's my point. Like
total strikes is right there for each of them. There was never
both of them. Yeah, both of them.
There was never one where one or the other ran away with the round.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, and I'm pretty sure Chael said this, but we'll just leave it anonymous because I drop his name so much. But the whole thing about significant strikes is, what once was said, significant to who? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how can you really tell what a significant strike is until, if you're counting strikes in the way they count just regular strikes, who's to say which ones are more significant? I think that's the oddest stat of all.
Yeah, and the one thing you got to credit is Weilli. There was one time I don't know if you remember this. My whole room went crazy. You want to hit a high kick, a perfectly clean high kick on the right side. Mm-hmm. And Weilli just eats them and shows no reaction. No, I mean, you want to react into some shots. Most of them she didn't too. Most of them she didn't react to. But there was a couple of shots you could tell hurt her. Right. Weilli just ate everything and just kept going. And there was times where you're like, oh, wow, Joanna's getting Weili's tired. She's about to take over. And then, nope. All of a sudden, we're like, oh, yeah, she's tired. Then she throw like an 8-punch combination. And, it's
I think the way
absolutely incredible.
We'll talk about what's next for both these girls later. But I think that the UFC really needs to take a hold of this fight and, promote the hell out of it. There was a time when I remember the weigh-ins, Dana White wore a shirt that someone had given him that was, I think it was Mark Hunt and Bigfoot. Just talking about how great of a fight it was. And I think that because here's why. Because if you ever want these girls to fight again, then you make the fight seem even in the promotion, just do a complete fight pass treatment of this fight, which I'm sure they're going to do.
I
break it down.
I totally agree.
Because here's the deal. Here's the deal. One of two things is going to happen. One, if they want to have them fight again, it helps the promotion of that fight. Two, no matter what, it props up Zhang Weilli.
Sure.
And no one else is capable of fighting her like this.
Yep.
Maybe the second best women fighter in her weight class. So if
you're 100%. You're absolutely.
Yeah.
If they spent an hour special, they have. I got that. You have the Gilbert Melendez, Dominic Cruz crew breaking down certain techniques they did. And then you have Daniel Cormier interviewing the fighters, their thoughts about it. And then you make the fight 100% free. This week, you can go to UFC Fight Pass, and this fight is 100% free to everybody. Yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah, put it on YouTube. Put it everywhere.
Yeah, whatever. Where they use YouTube.
But the thing that this
absolutely, because you've already got your pay-per-view buys. No one buys the pay-per-view the next day. You got it now. Put it out for free.
It's interesting that
because they're gonna put them on streaming anyways. You might as well have them on your YouTube.
Right. Well, the other thing is this, and I'm with you. I know I gave you a little bit of hell about saying it's the greatest fight of all time, and this is such a great fight that this is a good enough fight to launch something like that. If you don't have this yet, if you don't have the infrastructure to do this yet, this is the fight to launch it. This is the fight to say, we're gonna do a rewatchables. Or we're going to do a fight companion, or we're going to do a fight tape, whatever they want to name it. This is the fight to launch it. You are muted.
Sorry. I started writing this tweet, and then I forgot, and then it was too late. I started talking. I was going to write, how about we take back Jones versus Gustafsson in the Hall of Fame and just put this one right in the Hall of Fame? Just put it in right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry, Jones and Gustafsson. How do you listen? Stop with the Jones Gustafsson greatest title fight or Rory McDonald, Robbie Lawler. Dude, shut up. It's not even. First of all, Robbie Lawler. I'm gonna get a side tangent. Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald 2 is a great fight. It is not nearly as good as people. It is. I rewatched it recently. It's good. It's not that great. The first round sucks, by the way. It's absolutely terrible. And if they didn't have that epic stare down, I think it would be a forgotten fight. It's not nearly as good as people think. And it's one of those in the moment. So maybe I got to rewatch this and see 6 months from now, see if it still lives up. But yeah, could you imagine if they started taking fights, like you said? I think it's a brilliant idea. They started taking all-time fights and then had interviews with Daniel Cormier, talking to the guys, have all the people commenting like they kind of did with the Hall of Fame last night. All the people commenting where they were when this happened. Some portion, Melendez and Cruz or Dan Hardy or whoever is breaking down some kind of technique. That would be a brilliant show. I would love it. You put it just on like, Fight Pass or ESPN Plus, something like that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I guess we got to get to the rest of this stuff.
So. Yeah, we're gonna breeze through the rest of this stuff.
All right, let's get to
the next. Dariush and Carlos.
Yeah, Dariush and Carlos. So I want to talk about this fight. These are a couple of guys that, Carlos is a guy who's from Phoenix. Dariush is a guy I've always liked. All right, Keith, my biggest surprise in preparation for this was that Carlos only has one loss or had one loss. I thought of him more as a guy who gets a couple surprising wins, then drops one that he should win. He seems like that kind of guy. With that being said, I like the performance here, even in a loss. I thought he defended Dariush's backpack really well as you could, and picked the right strategy in terms of trading with Dariush. He just didn't move his head well enough. You play rock'em sock'em long enough, you might rock the guy and you might get socked, and this kid got socked. Yeah. What do we take away from this fight? Did either fighter take a leap, or are they just still kind of middle of the pack guys?
Yeah, so first of all, how sad it is for these two guys. When after the first round, they just saw their $50,000 checks just go away.
Right.
I think the reason why I actually understand what you're saying, where it's surprised that Carlos only had one loss, is because he's never impressed. He's never had that oh wow, that make him feel like he's a huge elite prospect. You know what I mean? He always kind of grinding against your fence, kind of winning a boring type decision kind of guy.
Is there anybody else who would have come into a fight 11-1? With this least amount of when you saw him as the third fight from the top, you're like, Carlos.
I mean,
if this was Gregor Gillespie or this was whoever,
right. Sure. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I mean, Jose Quinones at that time was won 5 out of 6 fights in the UFC heading into the fight, so he didn't have a lot of buzz. But I understand what you're saying. So I think you're right about the defending the rear naked choke and get such an elite grappler like Beniel Dariush to show that to not panic. And then to rock Dariush. And basically what happened, he was going in for the kill and got caught back. I mean, it happens. It reminds me, not that exactly, but when Pete Sell went in for the kill against Scott Smith, when you got a guy hurt, you're going for the kill. So you got to be aggressive. And unfortunately, he ran into things. And, terrible. I mean, it was a bad knockout. That's what it is.
So, do you think either of these guys moved up? Is Dariush ever going to be a guy who's –
He still has chin issues. That's what happened. Like Close is not known for his punching power, and he still rocked Dariush. It's the best of it. One of the best. One of, if not the best division in UFC. It's hard to really jump up the ranks. And I think isn't Dariush? He's up there. He's not that young. He's getting up there in age, right?
No, I think he's up there.
He's in his
30s.
Yeah, he's in his 30s at least. Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's just that peppered hair that makes it look older.
Listen, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
All right, Keith. It's been a minute since we've seen Neil Magny. It's been 476 days to be exact. And honestly, he didn't show a lot of ring rust. The hands were sharp. The grappling was solid. The thing that impressed me the most, and these are the ones that you love, these examples of mine, is that they went where Magny wanted to go, but they took Li Jingliang's car and Magny let him drive, and they still ended up where Magny wanted to go. I thought the beginning of the fight was Magny saying, okay, what do you want to do? And then at some point, Magny just slowly took the fight over to him. And so there's a lot of questions that could come out of this one, but the big one for me is, do you think Magny's ever going to be what we think he can be? I mean, he goes on these runs where he gets kind of close to top 5, and then, something will happen.
Yeah, so I'm still worried about his defense on kicks. But there was a lot of positive. So heading into this fight, I felt like this was the perfect picking for Li Jingliang. I picked Li Jingliang to win this fight. I picked it terribly. I really was. It felt like that time when the UFC wants to get the guy that they see rising over but get a name, kind of like what they're doing with Cub Swanson now, how they're doing with Ricardo Lumps. A guy that has a name, people recognize him, and I feel like that's what Neil Magny. But Neil Magny had this is one of his best performances in a really long time. His wrestling game wore out Li Jingliang. His clinch game was absolutely on point. He seemed like he finally started to learn how to use range, which has always been the big knock on his game. And he was doing a lot what Adesanya is. He was just touching him with the jab. He wasn't trying to blast him with power. And then I like the call out of Michael Chiesa. Now, if I'm Chiesa, I'm not giving Magny the time of day, but I actually like the call out of Michael Chiesa too. So that's a winnable fight for Neil Magny, and that's a guy higher in the rankings. Just an overall fantastic night for Neil Magny.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Keith, the main card started with a couple of 8-loss fighters trying to keep the checks coming. I thought this was a good, not great fight, and I'm left feeling the same way about both guys as I did coming into the fight. It was Brazilian Cowboy Oliveira defeating Max Griffin by split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. Anything here? I mean, was this just a prelim fight that happened to be on the main card?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Alex Oliveira stopped a 3-fight losing streak, still won a split decision. I think Griffin's lost something like 4 out of 5 now. Or, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets cut. Probably based on how exciting the fight was. I thought it was pretty exciting. It was fun back and forth. So I don't think he will be cut. That said, I had this fight completely broken down wrong. I said Alex Oliveira is going to win early, Max Griffin's going to win late, and then it's going to be kind of, which side of that do you think the second round went to? And it was the complete opposite. Oliveira came on strong late. Magny came on. Magny won the first round. Oliveira won the third round, or probably on the judges' scorecard. But somehow Alex Oliveira still almost found a way to lose because it's Alex Oliveira. He's on top. He's winning easily. Then somehow he gets too overzealous. He ends up on bottom and finishes the round on bottom and almost loses because he's Alex Oliveira.
There was something interesting at work here, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the fight, but it's kind of almost something that could have been saved for fun stuff. But Alex Oliveira came in with it seemed like a different look to me, and it's like every once in a while you see these fighters where the damage accumulates and their face changes, and you're like, that's not the guy who I think. Like Mike Perry would be a perfect example of this. You thought Mike Perry looked a certain way for a while, then he was in so many wars that when he came back, you're like, that doesn't even look like Mike Perry anymore. Or they shave the beard, or they do something off. When Alex Oliveira came in here, the joke was in my tweet, I was like, is Alex Oliveira Sr. fighting tonight? Because this guy looked like he aged over. Is his uncle? Is this like a Roger Mayweather situation?
Doesn't he have something stupid like 12 or 10 kids with 3 or 4 different women?
Apparently he's got 10 and 11's on the way.
10 and 11's on the way, but it's all with different women, and it's a little mess. So that's gonna age it when you got
That's true.
I couldn't imagine his does the check just go right to child support right away?
Probably, yeah.
Plus,
it's funny. I think somebody said last night it was 10, 3 different women, and they all live on the same street. I'm like, that's on brand. I buy that Brazilian Cowboy.
Good. You know what?
Least surprising part of the fight was finding out he had 11 kids.
Listen, I know I can speak for me and you. Neither one of us are play haters, so do your thing, brother.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, we don't play hate. We don't play hate over here.
We don't, but there's ways to do your thing and not end up with 11 kids. All right, let's move on.
His pullout game is weak.
It's not, no. All right, let's get to the prelims. Sugar Sean was back. Sean O'Malley defeated Jose Quinones by TKO via strikes in round 1. I'm going to guess, and I don't know this for sure, even though he's an Arizona boy, that you might be higher on this fight than I am. I'll be a little bit critical of it. Not for nothing. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. This kid's only 25 years old. I say this all the time. I said it on the Opportunity Links. He's at the age where you make huge jumps and improvements. It was a 2-year layoff. There was no ring rust. He didn't have a lot to gain. He had a lot to lose going against a guy like Quinones, who's a tough test. I think was the first step up in competition guy who, coming into the fight, won 5 out of the last 6 fights. He beats Quinones. He's not going to get a lot of credit. But when you beat him the way you beat him, to me, this is when you get that matchup where you're the favorite and you do what you're supposed to do, it's something special. And this was, to me, felt like a no-hitter from a pitcher. He went out, he had everything he needed to, perfect game plan, took him out, landed every strike. Absolutely incredible. And to me, Sean O'Malley's potential is through the roof right now. He's with a good team. I don't know. I'm high on Sean. I like him. This kid's good.
Yeah. And guys, sometimes I think we forget what gets lost in this. The last time he was in the cage was March 3rd, 2018, which is 735 days. And, that speaks for itself. But if you start to put it in other terms, my daughter was born January 2018. Now she's walking 3-word phrases. When you look at it in terms of, how long that actually is, how long that time is. I mean, it's a minute to be out there. Now, you can handle it a couple different ways. I mean, this guy has a huge presence in gaming. He's huge in like the CBD and cannabis communities. He could have just sat around playing video games and getting high all day. But like he said, it shows a maturity of his skills. To be gone that long and not have ring rust means that you're spending some time in the gym, means that you're keeping your head right. So, again, I will be a little bit critical in Not for Nothing, but I think that I am impressed with that kind of performance off of 735 days. All right, up next, Mark Madsen defeated Austin Hubbard by unanimous decision, 29-28 all across the board. What you think here?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I score the fight. Mark Madsen, he won the first 2 rounds. Wasn't that exciting to me. This was probably the worst fight of the card. He got tired pretty fast, and that's what's going to happen when you're 35 years old. This is a guy I wish we got him 5 or 7 years ago, that kind of range, and his ceiling would be much higher. But being his age and his style, it's wrestling. I've said this, wrestling does not cater to older guys. Unless you're a heavyweight, it really doesn't cater to the smaller the weight class. The worse chances are. He has a very limited ceiling, and it's hard. No, you know me. Nobody loves wrestlers more than I do, but it's hard to get excited for a guy who's already 35. That's like people talking about Jordan Burroughs. Like, Jordan Burroughs getting up there in age. Like, yeah, you might get a couple of years out of him if he comes back, but he's in his prime now. Like we're missing it.
Yeah, a guy like that needs to decide: do I want to spend my prime as a wrestler? Do I want to spend my prime, collecting gold medals? Do I want to spend my prime going to MMA and being, just another guy? All right, so Rodolfo Vieira and Sapare Arbeg Safarov. Vieira got the win here by submission via triangle choke. Arm triangle in round 1. What'd you see here?
I mean, well, first of all, we got to address this, the whole eye thing. Rodolfo Vieira, that eye closed up so bad. One, how funny is it? Think about when you saw the eye of Vieira. Imagine saying that's not even going to be the worst injury today, first of all. But two, he needed to get that stoppage in that first round, because if it went to the break and the doctor looked at it and he would have done the whole cover the one eye, he wouldn't be able to see it, and they would have stopped the fight. So there was a lot of pressure on him to get that submission. But I like this guy, man. He's got good takedowns, unbelievable top control. How old is Vieira? I don't want to be a hypocrite and be I gotta look this up. I'm sorry. I don't want to be a hypocrite and be like, oh, it's hard to get into Mark Madsen, and then look at Vieira I have no idea how old he is. He's got to probably at least be early 30s. I'm sorry. This is great, because if he's like mid 30s, then I'm gonna take back everything I said about him.
He's
30. He's 30. So I'm good. Oh yeah, yeah. So I like this kid. So back to I like this kid.
You feel justified in liking him based on age?
Yeah. If I looked at him say 36, I would have to take back everything I said and go back to what I said about Mark Madsen.
All right, so let's move on with Gerald Meerschaert defeating Deron Winn by submission via rear naked choke. Round 3, 2:13 of it. What'd you have here?
Well, so to me, this is the absolute opposites of a guy who has a high fight IQ versus a guy who has a terrible fight IQ. Gerald Meerschaert, an absolutely smart strategy to he really worked. He focused on volume, not trying to match Wynn's power, just using volume, just touching him. To go to the body shots, that's what hurt DC. It was very smart. That's what turned the whole fight around when he started hurting Deron Winn. And then the two things about Deron Winn, why one, the guy abandoned his wrestling immediately just because he got one takedown and Meerschaert, scrambled and everything. You can't abandon your wrestling that much. And two, this guy needs to move down to 170. I know he struggled at 185 to make weight, but he's starting to look like a busted product. You know who he's reminding me of? Is how he's compared to DC? He's DC's protege and he hasn't left the hype. And then remember when Bevan Lewis was the John Jones protege and he looks like him and he's built like him, and he's been the busted product? It's like, what we should do is get these guys to fight each other. I mean, I know the different weight classes, but let's get them fight each other as the busted John, get the DC John Jones rivalry. I don't know, some kind of put those two guys.
It was like that thing. We can do. We can make it to where when the
they're disappointed children. This is my disappointed child, and that's your disappointed child. Let's put them against each other.
Or the other thing was back in the day in wrestling when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went to WCW and they still had the rights to Razor Ramon, and like because the WWE had created those characters, they ran a couple guys out there that looked kind of like them, and they were like, this is kind of DC and kind of John Jones.
All right, there you go.
Or like if you made a Lifetime movie about DC's life, it'd be played by someone like Deron Wynn.
Yeah, that's true. Honestly, that's true. They do a movie. Deron Wynn would be the pick.
Listen, I am critical.
Who's the guy from Happy Burger and
Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, if not, they could go like real fat guy and go Kenan Thompson. Kenan Thompson could be a good DC.
There you go. So, I mean, are we done with Deron Wynn? I mean, I don't know.
No, I mean, he's still young in the game, but it's one of those, you know?
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here with the last two fights. Kadaski defeated Jamal Emmers by split decision, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. What'd you have here?
Yeah, Chikadze is a guy. I mean, he's such a brilliant striker, but he's got some cardio issues, and until he fixes that, he's got to have another limited ceiling, and he has shown improvement in his grappling. Jamal Emmers, I feel the same way I felt when you can't abandon your wrestling. When he wrestled, he did well. I don't get. He gave up big portions of this fight by not wrestling, and yeah, to me, that's why he lost.
First round KO for Becquerel versus Canetti.
He looked pretty good. Obviously taken in a vacuum guy, but he's fun to watch, and maybe he'll continue to prove. And we'll see a top 15 contender, but maybe he'll be that like tough test for somebody. If you can beat him, you get a good win. So yeah, I like this guy's skills.
All right, let's get to some housekeeping stuff. Fight of the night. Dana White was very generous in giving it to Weili Zhang, and I'm just kidding. Of course, it was.
That's a robbery.
Zhang Weili and Johnny on Jacek. Honestly, I don't know what the number would be, but listen. I'm just going to say this. I think that Dana White, because they now do that UFC honors, which is a complete takeoff of the NFL honors, they should take all the fights of the night through the year and make that the competition for the fight of the year. And I don't know what the number is for that, $500,000, $250,000. Like there should be some serious money
like
put out for the fight.
$1 million each.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Beniel Dariush, Jakar Close, Dariush got $50,000. And O'Malley and Quinones, O'Malley got $50,000. All right,
hold on. I'm sorry. O'Malley got 50. What was the other one?
Dariush. Beniel Dariush got $50,000.
I'm surprised Mag didn't get anything.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't get a stoppage. That's probably why.
Trending up, trending down. What do you got here?
Well, I got three trending up. Three guys we just mentioned. Sean O'Malley, a 2-year layoff. It showed no signs of ring rust. Biggest win of his career. Neil Magny has. This guy, to me, it felt like this was a setup fight where he's supposed to lose, and he had, one of his best performances in recent memory. And Weili Zhang, how can you not? I mean, how can you not be? See, she's trending down. To me, she is probably the most marketable female right now in the UFC. She showed it was not a fluke. How can she not be on everybody's trending up list?
Yeah, and I'll completely echo what you said. There's no point in arguing when you hit it out of the park. I mean, those are the three people that are the stories of this card leaving it. So go ahead and go to trending down. I'm sure we'll be very similar in this as well.
So Deron Wynn, I mean, we just talked about this is a guy who was a huge prospect. Yeah, he's lost 2 fights in a row, 2 fights that he was supposed to win. Yoel Romero, 3 losses in a row, 4 of his last 5. Terrible. He's not going to be. He has to move out of the weight class. He's not going to be defending the title. Terrible performance. And the other one, this one's not going to make a lot of sense because of how much I've talked up the fight. But you kind of have to put Joanna in trending down.
You got some guts.
Hold on, not based on the performance. The most unbelievable. She looked fantastic. She showed that she's right there with best in the world. One judge looks the fight a completely different way. She gets it. The only thing is she has now lost 4 out of her last 6 fights, and she's lost her last 4 title fights. So she's kind of in that weird, like, Holly Holm, Frankie Edgar type situation.
What do you do with her, yeah.
It's going to be a long road to get back to a title shot, or she needs kind of things to break, right, to be in there. Like kind of like how Frankie Edgar sometimes get a title shot by just this guy's injured and this person, whatever. Like it just happens to fall right. Like that's kind of what she's going to need.
Yeah, I agree with all of them. So there's no point in putting anybody else into the fray. Let's move on to not for nothing.
But hold on. Can I say this? If you're listening to this, listen to what I say. I'm not saying she had a bad performance. She had an incredible performance. I scored it. I gave her the win. I mean, I'm okay with Weili winning it too. So don't like at me and say like, "Oh, you're way off." No, I'm just saying, like her title picture situation is tough right now.
Right? Yeah, she finds herself in a bad situation.
Yeah.
You could have a great day at work and still be like on the company shit list at the same time. Every once in a while you can have an anomaly. You're like, okay,
it's like the Buffalo Bills. The Buffaloes went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Fantastic achievement, but they also lost 4 straight Super Bowls.
Right, exactly. All right, so let's talk about Not For Nothing. I got a couple here. Not For Nothing. I touched on a few of these. Not for nothing, but enough with the Romero criticism. This is who he is and how he fights. He should have pulled the trigger a little bit more, but when you're dealing with a sniper like Adesanya, you do at a certain level have to ensure your safety. Not for nothing, but enough with the Adesanya criticism. He was effective with what he was given. This was just a horrible stylistic matchup, and no one else will fight style bender like this, so exciting fights are to come. Not for nothing, but I'm going to keep this one simple. Paul Costa, that shirt was horrible. That's it. Not for nothing, but let's slow down on Sean O'Malley. I know we all want him to be great, but that wasn't this transformational performance. Like Rogan said it was. I will say this. It was in line with how he had been performing, and he did it off a huge layoff. So for me, that's impressive. The fact that he didn't seem like he lost any ground with the layoff. But I didn't see like the second coming of whatever when he was in there. All right, you're up.
Not for nothing. Mark Mattson, don't be asking to fight the best guys in the world when you just lost the 3rd round to Austin Hubbard. Not for nothing. Can someone explain why Giga Chikasi somehow got the longest mic time after a fight in history? He got like 10 minutes. The guy was giving us a history lesson about the whole country of Georgia. And I don't know. Not for nothing. DC. How about you don't tell the UFC to write the fight of the night check to Beniel Dariush and Drakkar Klose right then? I don't know if you caught that. He said, just write out the check for fight of the night right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Not a good call. Not for nothing. Yoel Romero, don't do 100 push-ups after the fight. Maybe if you wasted your energy in the fight, you'd be carrying the UFC title right now. Not for nothing. Paulo Costa, don't try jumping in the cage to at least we know who the winner is. I mean, the guy was like, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. We didn't even know who won. And my last one, I say this every week, not for nothing, UFC. The fight ended with daylight saving time, 2:40 in the morning. Listen, you're never going to compete with the big sports until you get off pay-per-view and move these start times up.
All right, let's move on to cut list. You have anybody that should get their walking papers?
Yeah, it was a pretty good night overall, so I don't have much. But the only one I would probably let go, Guido Canetti. The guy's 2-4 in the UFC. He lost his last 2, was knocked out in his last 2, and the dude's 40 years old. It's time. I mean, if he wants to continue fighting, he should be fighting in like some small Argentina fight scene where he's headlining cards in American Legions.
I'd cut Win. Because I think cutting him, he'd come back stronger. Really? Yeah.
Wow.
I think he'd come back stronger. And I don't think that he's someone that's going to go to another promotion and
make
you regret cutting him.
I think Bellator would snag him.
I think they would, but I don't know that. Well, that's true. And then if he goes to Bellator, then it's hard to come back to UFC. I get that.
And then we can't do Deron Wynn versus Bevan Lewis.
Right? So what am I thinking? Shocker of the night. What surprised you the most?
Okay. This is going to be a really, what's the word? Like really crappy shocker or like really – shocker of the night is Joanna Jacek's forehead.
I was going to say the same thing.
All right.
Well, no.
That's a silliness in us.
No. Then I'll go with mine. For mine, I'll say really Yoel Romero's inactivity. I mean, I know that's his game plan, but I was so confused by it because I couldn't figure out if it was genius or not. Like the fact that he did absolutely nothing for the first 2 minutes of the fight, I was sitting there going, this is either the smartest thing I've ever seen in my life, meaning he just ate, he just completely chewed up this much of the clock with taking no damage and wasting no energy. Or if I had known that was going to be the rest of the fight, I would have been like, dude, come on.
Yeah. And another thing that shocked me is Romero, don't like jump on the mic and saying, is this the champ you want? Someone who runs and doesn't fight and then throw like 22 punches the entire fight. Like, come on, dude. Exactly.
All right. From the Notebook, I felt like this was the A team.
Yeah.
I felt like it was people like Cruz. I like Cruz too. But it was DC, it was Rogan, it was Anik. I think DC's the best person to be with Rogan. So if you're gonna have Rogan,
I think DC's the best commentator, just playing
right.
simple.
Then he's
the best at everything he does.
Yeah. I like Olivi. Chael and Felder. I like Akamoto in the back. I am a little bit curious as to where.
It was a good crew.
Yeah, I am a little bit curious as to where Arrow fits in all this. I know he's a post-fight guy, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he's
no Karen Bryant.
No, I prefer Megan Levy to Karen Bryant, but that's a story for another day.
The only thing
of the night. Go ahead.
Hold on. The only thing I say about the commentary team, and I do agree, I think this is the best team, is I think you watch the Weili Joanna fight. Early in the fight, they were extremely biased towards Weili. Like, they kept pointing out every single thing she landed and just ignoring everything Joanna was doing. Yeah. And then as the fight went on, they started giving Joanna a lot more credit. But they made it in the very early, they made it seem like it was a whitewashing for Weili, which is absolute insanity to me.
You know, the UFC is unique in the sense that the people that comment who are the commentators for the UFC are UFC employees to an extent. And I mean, they kind of work for – it's a whole thing that Errol got in trouble with back in the day. Is he a Fox employee? Is he a UFC employee?
Yeah, of course.
Same thing with Anik. Same thing with Rogan. They're on ESPN Air, but they're UFC employees. It's weird because like when Troy Aikman calls a football game, he always is kind of in the bag for the Cowboys. But he's a Fox employee. And Fox really – they broadcast the NFL, and they're partners with the NFL. But, Troy will be critical of people, and evenly so.
It's because the NFL and MLB and these ones, they can take the media criticism. It won't hurt their sport as much as like a media criticism of MMA can.
No, what I mean is that
you know what I'm saying? Like, they have the history.
I do know what you mean, but my larger point is that there's no one behind the commentating table that's trying to push a narrative. Like, the UFC is trying to push the Zhang Weilli narrative. Of course. So Rogan knows.
Rightfully so, though.
Right, but I'm saying
in this instant, rightfully so.
Well, no, what I mean is that your criticism of them saying all the good things she's doing is because they're trying to make her, in the course of the fight, seem like grow her star. So,
I thought they did the wrong. The narrative should have been like, how incredible is this fight? And then rounds 3, 4, and 5, they started doing that. But at first, it was just like, oh, how good Weili is, and I'm like, just sell like how incredible this fight is.
Right.
As far as my technique of the night, Mershad going to the body of Win. And there's a lot of great techniques, but just to me, it was the whole fight IQ to change it up and start going to the body. That changed the whole fight. So that was my technique. What do you got?
Romero's strategy. I didn't like the way he carried.
So you're going the negative. You're going the negative.
Well, no, I like the strategy. I didn't like the.
Oh, okay.
The way he did it. All right. Why does car matter, Keith?
Yeah. So I agree with you. So the strategy was right. It was the execution that was wrong. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why it was mad at the pre-thing was. You had a chance to build 2 megastars. In my opinion, one of them failed to rise to stock, maybe probably hurt the stock, while the other one absolutely seized the moment and shined. And it's a dream night for Weili Zhang, even though she took so much damage.
Yeah, I agree. It was the main and the co-main is the story, and I think that if you're going to be the co-main to Israel Adesanya, it helps you out a lot to outshine him, and that's what she did.
The only thing about Weili that I think she's missing is having a catchy nickname, and the fact where someone can identify you. Because let's be honest, as Americans, we struggle with the whole what's their real name, what's their first name, last name culture thing with China. In the whole Asian culture, the Korean Zombie. Most people don't know his name, but fans, based on his time, like, oh, I want to see the Korean Zombie. She's missing that. That's the only thing she's missing. If she had that nickname that you could be like, the Chinese princess, whatever her nickname is. Like,
it has to be perfect to where it's not offensive, but it's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Chinese princess or the Chinese whatever.
Yeah. It's true. Like the Karate Hottie. It's a perfect nickname.
Exactly, because she had something to identify her. That's the only thing she's missing. Everything else is perfect about her.
All right, let's book the main and co-main. What do you want next for Israel Adesanya? Paulo Costa?
Yeah, no brainer. Yeah, that's got to be.
What's next for Real Romero? I'm just going to say Bellator. Do you hate that? I mean,
I don't hate it. I don't hate it, and they need middleweights for sure. Based on
I want to see him fight Ryan Bader, but that's
Rafael Lovato. But I actually like Romero going up to light heavy. We talked about last week. There's a lot of matchups. The first one's Thiago Santos would have been fun, Johnny Walker. But the one I thought of is, how about Corey Anderson?
That'd be interesting.
He's got to go up to light heavyweight.
I want to see him at light heavyweight with someone who forces him to wrestle, and that Corey Anderson fight would be perfect. The co-main. What's next for Weili?
So to me, I put 3 different ones because first would be Tatiana Suarez. She's the most one, but she's injured. and there's no timetables. So if Tatiana Suarez is not an option, I think next would be Rose Namajunas if she beat Jessica Andrade. If Jessica Andrade wins, do you really want to go back with a rematch or for a knockout? So honestly, this is what I was talking about with Joanna. Like, she needs everything to fall in place. If Tatiana Suarez is hurt and Andrade beats Rose, maybe they just run it back to rematch. That's like third option, but Suarez, Namajunas, Joanna.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that this kind of fight is perfect in the sense that had she got a first-round KO, she might be looking to turn it over quickly. But now that she took all this damage, she may have to spend enough time out of the cage to let the division play itself out. So the Andrade fight with Namajunas will happen. Suarez will heal up. So by the time she's ready to get back in the cage, which may be in the fall, all those things will have taken place. All the chips will have fallen that may need to fall for her to, kind of.
Yeah.
What's next for Joanna?
Yeah. So to me, this is the much harder one to match. She could go back to 125, but with Valentina Shevchenko there, it's always going to be tougher. If she stays at 115, it's really hard to match her because she's already faced Jessica Andrade. She's already faced Rose Namajunas. She's already faced Claudia Gadelha. Like, she faced Rose twice, Gadelha twice, Jessica Andrade. Like, so she's, Caroline Colvin. She's fought all those people who's the tier down. So you kind of have to find a new blood. So the name I come up with, Yan Xiaonan, and the other Chinese fighter in the division that's doing really well. Let's throw it in there and see if Yan Xiaonan is ready to get past someone as good as Joanna.
I like what you said, and kind of what I read through it was maybe you could take like a Connor approach with Joanna, and that she fights a weight class up just because there's more fights available that she hasn't ever fought, but she's still relevant at 115. So if at any point you need to pull her to just reference, oh yeah, there was that time that she had this great fight with Zhang Weilli, we can pull her back, but she's a consistent fighter at 125.
Yeah. I honestly don't even hate the strategy of just having her beat those like mid-level, like Ronda Marcos ones. Just get like a winning streak going and keep her relevant. And then if something happens where there's a champion and she's on a 3-4 fight winning streak and there's a champion she has to face, so she can't go against Weili. I mean, Weili will eventually, but Rose Namajunas is obviously not an option. Somebody like is a champion and everything works out right, she gets back in there. But yeah.
She's a good main or co-main for fight night cards.
Yeah.
Because she has a name, she can draw eyes. I think that's where she's heading. All right, you kind of, gave a little bit of a preview to it earlier. Grade the card.
Well, heading into the main event, I had an A+. I was ready to give – I don't know if I've done an A+ on the show. I was ready to give it an A+. And then the main event was a D, maybe an F. I mean, it was that bad. So I'm going to – just based on the co-main event being so good, I'll give it a B.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that. I mean, you could allow the main event to drag it down to a C, but yeah, I'm with you. I'll stick with a B just because you can't let one fight take away from the entire card. But that's a big fight.
It's the main event. If the main event was just good, just okay. I mean, not even good, just okay fight. Like, it was an okay fight. It wasn't great. It was just okay. I would give the card an A. But the fact that it was like an F fight, I drop it down to a B.
Yeah.
I'm still happy. I'm still happy. When you say about $65 was well spent, based on just the co-main event alone, I was still happy that I spent the money.
I agree. All right, guys. No, that's fine. That's a wrap. Before we let you go, let's go talk about the network. Be sure to also listen to all the other content on LoudMouth MMA Podcast Network, including the Not Safe for Work podcast with Kyle Steele and Fred Kirby, which is recorded today. Should be out soon. Between the Links, hosted by Mike Heck, starring an all-star cast of writers from Round MMA, including Keith Shillan, Davidson Baker, Craig Allen, the Bellator Recap Show with Keith Shillan, Davidson Baker, Early Stoppage with myself and Craig Allen, the Breakdown Show with Maxie Marcel, MMA Yesterday with Kyle Steele and Keith Shillan, the MMA Takeover with Keith Shillan, Off the Cuff, hosted by Mike Heck, the Kyle Steele Show. There's all kinds of shows on the network. So you're bound to find something that you like. I am going to just tell you that I'm going to pitch a show to Keith that's sort of an offshoot of All Angles. So if he buys it, listen for that soon. All right, guys, that's it. That's all. We'll see you next time. Peace.